Judaism is solid. That's why Christians and Muslims, when they made up their religion, it's a man-made religion. The problem with those two religions, which are approximately 4 billion people in the world today, that when they wrote their books, remember, a human being actually wrote it. They cannot come and say, Judaism is for 1,300 years. To come and claim that it never happened, it's not valid, it's not really the word of God. The Jews never really received the Torah from God. They never came out of Egypt. You cannot deny such an event, just like you cannot deny September 11 or October 7 or the Holocaust.
Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi has been on my watch list for, I believe, 3 years now. And the most recent conversation that I've seen of him was with the infamous Sneeko. Would you like to summarize to us how that conversation went?
I made him a name, Sneeko the Snake. I actually like it. I believe it went over 1 million views already by now. So, And of course, after the debate with Sneeko, I got hundreds of emails from Muslims from all over the world. They started to listen to my lectures, and you'll be surprised, some of them even talking to me about conversion to Judaism, So let's talk a little bit about Islam. You asked me about some human errors in the Quran. In the Quran, which obviously they copy from the Torah, all the names, Ibrahim and Yusuf and Dawood. Dawood means David. It comes from our Torah. The angel that, according to their belief, gave the Quran to Muhammad, his name was Jibril, which means Gabriel. You understand? Gabriel. Okay, so it all comes from Judaism. They don't eat pork, we don't, because we don't eat pork. They don't charge interest from each other because they saw it in the Torah. Their women dress modest because they saw it in the Torah. They pray 5 times a day because they saw us praying on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year, 5 times. So everything they do, they copy from us. Then they add a lot of their nonsense later on.
Hey guys, just before we begin, one of the core values of this channel is respect for people of all religious backgrounds and beliefs. My goal has always been to create a space where honest conversations can happen even when we don't all agree. In the interview you're about to see, Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi shares his personal religious beliefs and perspectives. And by having these conversations, I hope to encourage respectful dialogue, deeper understanding, and thoughtful discussion, not division. Thank you for watching with an open mind, and let's get to the video. Guys, I have the one and only Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I'm honored.
Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi has been on my watch list for, I believe, 3 years now. I've watched many of his stuff, many of his videos. And the most recent conversation that I've seen of him was with the infamous Sneeko. Would you like to summarize to us how that conversation went? What did you take out of it? And if you had any Muslims approaching you after and asking for more insight.
Very good question. It's been months already that all kinds of famous celebrities on social media are asking me to make debates, interviews, and stuff like that. But once Tucker Carlson cut parts of my lectures and show it in his show, and then all his Nazi friends joined on a wagon and started to cut clips from my lectures trying to condemn Judaism, one of them was Sneeko. I made him a name, Sneeko the Snake. I actually like it. So he was after me for about a month, 2 months maybe, with different messengers that he wants to do a show. And I say, we always have the answer to every question on earth because we have the truth of God, so we have nothing to be afraid of. And it took place, as you saw. It was about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I answered a lot of his questions. He actually allowed me to talk, which is very rare in today's world. Usually people don't let you talk. They cut you in the middle. He allowed me to talk. He has his views. We have our views. It went viral. I believe it went over 1 million views already by now. So, And there's other debates that I made recently that also have very large audience. And it's good. It's good to send the message to all the people in the world. And of course, after the debate with Sneeko, I got hundreds of emails from Muslims from all over the world. And believe it or not, they are very moderate Muslims that are not pro-terror. They're not anti-Semite in general. They search for the truth. They try to defend their culture and their belief. I answer some of the questions. They started to listen to my lectures. I sent them to my famous lecture, Torah and Science, which over there I show the difference between Judaism to all the thousands of religions and cults that came after. And you'll be surprised, some of them even talking to me about conversion to Judaism,
Wow.
So it works. It works. I've been doing it for 31 years. I have a lot of experience to see what really works, and the truth works if you know how to present it correctly. So
I have seen your fascinating lecture, Torah and Science, and I recommend everybody that's watching right now to go and watch this lecture. I was glued to the screen. My wife was telling me to do stuff. I said, "Hold on, let me finish this." I think it was 150, sorry, 1 hour and 50 minutes. I think you have a longer version of 4 hours, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, I
Fascinating.
recommend the 4 hours because every word there is a treasure for life, for Jews and Gentiles. Basically gives you the answer to every common question that a human being has about life, the purpose of life. How do we know there is a God? How do we know he created the world? How do we know the Torah is really his book? What does it mean, the oral Torah that the Jews talks about so much? In Torah and Science, you see the difference between Judaism and thousands of religions that came later. They all started with the story of one individual who never had a witness to the event, such as Christianity. 2,000 years ago, Mary had a dream. Nobody witnessed a dream. Muhammad, 1,300 years ago, he claimed that Angel Gabriel gave him the Quran, but he was alone in a desert when he received the Quran. Nobody witnessed that. And Buddha claimed that he saw the light. He had an enlightenment 2,400 years ago, and nobody saw that event. Nobody can witness it. Unlike them, Judaism is very different. It's a religion that started in front of millions of people. The entire nation witnessed Moses speaking to God in front of them. And not only that, all the miracles that happened to them while they came out of Egypt and they received the Torah 7 weeks after the exodus of Egypt is all described in a book. And you know that I cannot fool millions of people and tell them that I perform miracles for them and they all witness it. And they are the witnesses that everything I tell them actually happened to them. No one would cooperate with such a scam, especially more than 3 million people, especially when you ask them to change their lifestyle 180 degrees. Some of them has to get divorced because their wife is not legally permitted to them. Some, they have to change what they eat. They have to observe the Sabbath. They have to give a lot of donations. They have to be more modest. It's a lot of life-changing things. You come with such a demand to millions of people and you say to them, all of you heard me speaking to God. All of you saw that I opened the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and you saw the 10 plagues, and you see everything that happened. And if one of the details in the Torah was not 100% accurate, right away everyone would demonstrate and say to Moses, listen, you're nothing but a scammer. You're scamming us. None of that happened to us. We were not in Egypt. We were not slaves. We didn't see miracles. We didn't cross the river. We didn't hear the voice of God. All of these things you are saying never happened to us. Obviously, no one will be such a fool to come to millions of people and say, all of you heard me speaking to God when it never happened. You understand? So Judaism is solid. That's why Christians and Muslims, when they made up their religion, it's a man-made religion, when they made it up, they knew they had one problem that they cannot overcome. They cannot come and say, Judaism is for 1,300 years, like when Christianity started. There is Judaism all over the world for 1,300 years. To come and claim that it never happened, it's not valid. It's not really the word of God. The Jews never really received the Torah from God. They never came out of Egypt. You cannot deny such an event, just like you cannot deny September 11 or October 7 or the Holocaust. There are too many testimonies to this. So you cannot come after 1,300 years and say, the Jews are hallucinating. They never really had a revelation. They didn't hear the voice of God, etc., etc. So there's no way to do such things. So let's say that God gave another book, part 2. Same thing the Muslims. The Muslim comes and say, well, to deny Judaism, it's not possible. Everything we know, it comes from Judaism. We call our father Ibrahim and Ismail. It's names from the Torah. So if we deny the Torah, we have no history. We have no beginning. So that we cannot do that. So, and also to deny Christianity, we will have too many people that oppose us. So let's accept the JC and let's accept Christianity. And we just say, just like God gave the Old Testament and the New Testament, Now he's giving a third book, which is the Quran. The problem with those two religions, which are approximately 4 billion people in the world today, that when they wrote their books, remember, a human being actually wrote it. There's no such a thing, a human being in the history of the world that will memorize 24 books of Judaism, the 5 books of Moses, and 19 more books of the prophets and the kings, and will memorize millions of events and names and genealogies, and will remember who gave birth to who and the dates and all of the events and the geographic locations without making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Christianity is full of human errors and Islam is full of human errors, and you have to be intelligent. In less than an hour, I can prove to anyone, include priests, include imams, if they have 10% honesties, I prove to them that their religion is not God work. That's been said without disrespecting anyone. You know, I mean, all I do is to spread the truth of God. If they want to accept it, be my guest. They don't want to accept it. It's their life.
If you would
Nobody
have
force anyone.
if you would have believed in the Christian book or in the Muslim book, in the Quran or in the New Testament, then you would be a Christian or a Muslim. Of course, you don't believe in them, therefore you reject them, which I completely understand. But can you give us examples of human errors that we can find in the Christian Bible and human errors that we can find in the Muslim text?
Yes, absolutely. If I wanted to give you the whole list, I will be talking to you until next week at the same time, but let's do it short. And in Christianity, it says that Jacob went to Egypt with 75 people of his family. Now remember, this is the New Testament. It's part 2 of the same God. God gave the Torah, which is the Old Testament, and the New Testament has to be a continuation of the same God, the same author, right? So it's written in the Torah that Jacob went to Egypt with 70 people. What happened to God? He forgot. He forgot when he gave part 2 that Jacob went to Egypt, 70 people, he became 75. That's one example. Another example, in Act 7 in Christianity, it's written that the cave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which we all know it's in Hebron, it's written in the Torah, it's written in all the Jewish books, it's written in the Talmud 2,000 years ago. It's always been in Hebron. Until this moment, people go and pray there every day. Even the Muslims made a mosque there, and even Christians go there. So everybody knows he was always in Hebron, but somehow in part 2, which is the New Testament and the Acts, it says that in the city of Shechem, Nablus, it's a different city. Just like saying, I'm a messenger of God. God gave me a book. I want all of you to follow my book, and you open the book and see that the Twin Towers collapse in Miami. Every fool will know that that's not the book of God, because God doesn't make such human errors. So here is another example. I'll give you one last one for Christianity, and then we'll move to Islam. It's the New Testament started with description of the genealogy all the way from King David to Joseph the carpenter. The story begins that Joseph the Jew, he met Miriam, Mary, and Joseph and Mary got married. They had a chuppah, just like the Jews get married today. He went out of town. He comes back after a few months, and he sees that Mary is pregnant, and he asks her, how could you have done such thing? You know, I never actually touched you. And she said to him, no, don't suspect me. I'm a virgin. God came to me in a dream, and he made me pregnant. This kid will be some special light to the world. And, you know, that's the story. Just before this story, they actually spend more than an entire page to show the genealogy all the way from King David to Joseph the carpenter. Why the book started with that? Because in Judaism, which they believe and they adopted, it's written that the Messiah must be son of David, has to come from the family of King David. And he did come from the family of David, his son Solomon, and all the generation is described. So therefore, in order for the people to accept JC as the Messiah, you have to prove that he comes from the family of King David. So they describe all the generations all the way to Joseph the carpenter. And right after that, they made a huge critical mistake saying that Joseph is not the biological father. he was born from Mary, but God is the father. As Joseph has nothing to do with JC. It's not his blood, it's not his DNA, and it's not his seed. So why would you spend a page and a half to prove that Joseph the carpenter is a grandson of King David, when right after that you say that he has nothing to do with the baby? He's not the father. This is a ridiculous mistake that leaves no doubt that it's not from God. By the way, you should know the evangelists, they have 4 books. Mark, John, Luke, and Matthew, right? So in 2 of those 4 books, they describe the genealogy from King David all the way to Joseph and Carpenter, and they have 22 mistakes in the genealogy. Let me give you an example what it means. In our Torah, in any book of Judaism, we always know that Abraham gave birth to Isaac, Isaac gave birth to Jacob, Jacob gave birth to Joseph, Joseph gave birth to Ephraim and Menashe, etc. Right? We know the order.
Yeah.
Imagine in a book of Genesis, that's what would be written, and then you go to Deuteronomy, and it would be a complete different order. It would be Abraham gave birth to Ephraim. Ephraim gave birth to Isaac. Isaac gave birth to Joseph. Joseph gave birth to any name, and completely different names, different orders. 22 contradictions, 22 mistakes. What happened to God? He doesn't know the right order all the way from King David all the way to Joseph the carpenter, regardless of the fact that they just contradict themselves and say that Joseph has nothing to do with the newborn. You understand? So this is example. I can give you one example after the other, literally over 1,000 mistakes in Christianity. They're all human error, but not just human error in the lowest level, meaning that the people that wrote those books, they had very limited knowledge in Judaism. That's why they made so many mistakes and contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, after you watch my debate with a Christian professor, it's 3 hours debate. It's all about Christianity. I can tell you that at least 1,200 Gentiles converted to Judaism through me, meaning there are many thousands in other places in the world. And I can tell you that there are tens of thousands of Gentiles who became righteous Gentiles. They keep the 7 laws of Noah. And when they die, they go to heaven of Gentiles. And they just follow the only book of God, which is the Torah. The Torah also speaks to the Gentiles, not just to the Jews. The Jews have to be the light to the nation, teach them the principles, tell them the difference between the Jewish people to the non-Jewish people. Everyone has his own mission and purpose in life. Everyone is subject to reward and punishment according to his obligations. And, sometimes they don't like when we say we are the chosen people, but they themselves say it. You go to any Christian in a church, they learn that they read in the Torah that God chose the Jewish people. It's written, I chose you from all the nation. You have to be holy because I'm holy. I will never break the covenant that I made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I will never replace their children with any other nation. They have to follow my Torah and all of that. And then when the Jews say that we are the chosen people, some of them don't like to hear it, maybe for political reasons. But
by the way, I just want to say the true Christians that I talk to, the majority of them recognize exactly what you said. I'm good friends with Nathaniel Bujelik. He's a big Hollywood actor, big advocate for Israel. Every time I talk to him about this, he's like, it is known in the Christian world that the Jews are the chosen people. Nobody can dispute this. And if you try to dispute this, you're not a real Christian. So I agree with you. Most Christians recognize, like, if you're a true Christian. Hey, just a small break before you continue. I'm an independent creator, and if you'd like to support my work and support this YouTube channel, please make sure to support me on Buy Me Coffee. The link is attached down below. It helps me tremendously, and every single donation is appreciated. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the video. Yeah, continue.
So he's correct, but there are Christians who denies it and they get upset. As you can see, Tucker and his friends, they get very angry. Even this Nico got angry that we say that we are the chosen people, even though it's written in their own books. You see, he converted to Islam. In the Quran, it says that we are the chosen people few times. And it's also said in the New Testament and in the Torah. So there's no argument here. In all 3 books, according to all 3 religions, it's written the same thing. However, when we say chosen people, the coin has two sides.
Right.
It comes with more obligations. We have to represent God in a faithful way. We have to be strict. We have to be devoted. We have to be decent. We have to give a great example to the world. We have to teach the world not to be idol worshippers. We have a lot of responsibilities. And if we neglect to fulfill our mission in life, we are subject to bigger punishments than the Gentiles. You see, a Gentiles have 7 laws, which is the main part of his religion, but he also has to follow every a law that is required by human logic. Meaning, don't make the streets dirty, don't beat up people, don't be arrogant, don't dress dirty, don't walk in the street, half naked. It doesn't have to say specifically to the Gentiles, you're not allowed to do it. It's enough that God said to the Gentiles that they have to believe in God and respect Him. Respecting God means not to do things that He hates, not to be an idol worshiper, not to be a violent person, definitely not to be a murderer or a thief, not to torture animals, etc., etc. So this was
Can you explain to the
Christianity.
people what
What about
idol worshiping?
Islam?
Can you explain to the people watching what idol worshiping brought to the world? And I'm talking about the times of Moses. Why was Moses so aggressive with people who turned into being idol worshippers or doing the ceremonies that they did? Why is it so aggressive for Jewish people?
Okay. So you know that there are two ways to think. There's one way to think like a human being with his human logic and his limitation, and there is a way to think like God, the Almighty, the superpower who runs the world and 8 billion people, coordinate with all of them. Every little detail is supervised. So it's obviously two different ways of thinking. It's written in the Torah, do not try to understand me like you understand people. My ways and your ways are not the same. Comparing yourself to me, it's like comparing a worm to an eagle in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's metaphoric. So the point is like this. Some of the divine laws, we cannot always understand fully why God gets so angry about certain things. For instance, most Jews in the world, and even in Israel, even people who grew up with Hebrew, in schools that they learn in Hebrew, most of them, they are not aware that in the eyes of God, to desecrate the laws of the Sabbath is a bigger crime than to murder. Now, if you ask every human being in the world, what's worse, to light fire on the Sabbath or to take a knife and cut someone and kill him? Everybody, 99.9% of the people in the world will get offended by the question. What kind of a question is this? Rabbi, you're not normal. How do you compare a murderer to someone who lights a cigarette on the Sabbath? But in the book of God, it's written that every Jew that desecrates the Sabbath excludes himself from Judaism. He loses his share to the world to come. Plus, it's a death penalty and it's a permanent cut for the soul for eternity. This punishment we don't find by a murderer. A murderer is not cut for eternity. It doesn't have isur karet. It doesn't say the soul will be cut in the afterlife. His execution is much more lenient, and he stay a Jew. If he was an observant of the Sabbath and he killed someone, he is a wicked Jew, but he still remain a Jew. However, you can be the nicest Jewish person in the world. Once you desecrate the Sabbath, you lose your Jewish identity in the eyes of God until you repent and begin to observe the Sabbath. This is something that it's way above our understanding why God will be angrier than someone who create fire or write on the Sabbath to someone who actually killed someone, right? So this is to show you that we do not understand the divine logic fully. We understand part of it.
What would you say about Rabbi saying to those very people who desecrate the Shabbat, who are completely secular Jews, atheist Jews, we call them? What would you say to these people, to these rabbis like the Maimonides or Menachem Schneerson, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who says that even if a Jew does not keep Shabbat, he is still a Jew because we can always bring him back to Judaism?
You know what it's like? I'll give you an example. You have two people. One of them has a driver's license and the other one never got a driver's license. The one that have a driver's license just lost his license. It got suspended. Both of them are not allowed to drive. If they will drive without a license right now, they'll go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
However, you have to understand that there's a difference between both of them because one of them knows how to drive. He had a license, it was taken away from him temporarily for 60 days, for 1 year. The other one never had a license. This is the difference between a Jew that desecrates Shabbat to a Gentile. A Gentile was born to a non-Jewish mother. He doesn't have a Jewish soul. He can do whatever he can do. He will never be a Jew until he converts. If he will observe the Sabbath, he will do anything that the Jews do. It will not make him a Jew. The Jew has obligation. One of them is to observe the Sabbath, not to violate the rules. Okay. Now, when a Jew breaks this covenant, the Sabbath with God, his license as a Jew, his certificate as being a Jew is revoked until he will repent. Even though he was born to a Jewish mother and he has a Jewish soul, he cannot replace his soul. No one argued that he still have a Jewish soul. And he's still obligated to keep all the other laws of the Torah like a Jew. He cannot come and say, since my license was revoked and I'm no longer counted as a legal Jew by the eyes of God, I might as well eat pork and commit other sins that Gentiles are permitted to do. If anyway I'm not considered a Jew, why should I eat kosher? Why should I put tefillin? Why should I do that? That's stupid. You still are obligated to do everything and still will be punished for everything you violate in the Torah. However, all the privileges of a Jew that observed the Sabbath and in the covenant, he loses. So he loses from both sides. He's still obligated to keep all the laws and will be judged for not keeping them. And all the gifts and the promises and the eternal life that the Jews that observe the Sabbath deserve to get, he's losing.
Mm-hmm.
The Gentile, whatever he's going to do is not going to help him unless he will convert, will immerse in a mikveh, in a natural water, and a Jewish soul will merge into his Gentile soul. And from that moment on, it's like a brand new baby that just came to the world, regardless of his biological age. So that's the difference. Of course, you remain a Jew. Just because you create some fire on Shabbat, it doesn't replace your soul momentarily, you know? So that's one thing. Now, about the idol worshiping that you asked me, we see that the punishment that God gives to idol worshippers is the worst punishment exists in the entire Torah. We never find a worse punishment than that. What is it? Death in the worst format of execution, and also a permanent cut from the afterlife. And this, by the way, applies to Jews and to Gentiles equally. Both of them that will worship anyone but God, such as taking a man and saying that he's a God, he has divine power, or he's the son of God, or he runs the world, or he takes our sins instead of us, and he's suffering for us. All these things that people made up, it's all against God, because it's written in the Torah, everyone responsible solely, only to his own sin. Nobody get punished for someone else. Everyone, ish bechet'o yumat. Every person is responsible and will be executed only according to his actions, not according to his father's actions, or his friend, or his brother, or anyone else. So there are a lot of things that came later on that it's because of lack of knowledge and ignorance. They contradict the principles of the Torah. So Jews that say, my rabbi, as holy as he was, as righteous as he was, my rabbi is divine. He will decide who will marry who. He can find your soulmate. He can cure you from your diseases. Whether that rabbi is alive or whether he already passed and was buried, it becomes idol worshiping. So remember, what I'm saying here doesn't apply only to Christianity.
Because they turn this rabbi into something that is divine, but only God is divine. Therefore, you cannot make any. Okay.
And it's in the Ten Commandments. You should not have any God but me. You're not allowed to give divine power to anything, not to statues, not to pictures, not to human beings, not to animals, nothing. You're not allowed to worship the sun. You see, in the old days, people that did not hear about the Torah, Gentiles in the world, they were searching for God. Remember, there was no Christianity. There was no Buddhism yet. There was no Islam. Many of the Gentiles in the world, they were searching for God. What could be more logical than seeing a huge ball of fire in the sky and thinking that's the God?
Yeah.
Such a thing gives us light, gives us warmth, and then see another God in the evening, which is a little bit smaller and wider, thinking that's the second God, the day shift and the night shift. Even that is a huge violation of God's rules, because it's written in the Torah, do not dare to worship the stars. You see, God already told us in advance things that he knew we're going to do, because we use our common sense, our logic, our ignorance, and we make a salad in our understanding, and our ideology has many, many holes, and we don't have the principles, and that's why we make a lot of mistakes. Now, most of these mistakes are innocent mistakes. For instance, I don't suspect that the young Christians today that were raised by their parents to be Christians and to believe that JC is the Son of God and he runs the world and he will save the world, and if you don't accept him, you go to hell. I don't really think they have other options, like you say. They were fed by what their parents fed them, and their parents were fed by their parents, all the way to the beginning of Christianity 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
However, the goal is that when you hear someone speaks to you with logic and with knowledge of the original book of God, which is the Torah, and prove to you that your belief contradicts completely the original book of God, completely, in hundreds of subjects. At one point, you have to say enough is enough. And by the way, we are not missionaries. We're not running after any Gentile in the world and beg them to come convert to Judaism. The opposite. Every one of them who comes and says, I want to convert, we say, no, you better stay a righteous Gentile. What do you need? All these laws. It's not easy to be a religious Jew. You already can go to heaven by being a righteous Gentile. You keep the 7 laws. You be a decent person. You're not going to be a racist. You're not allowed to hate people because of their ethnic or race or anything like that. Once you are a righteous Gentile, you go to heaven. And God is very happy with you. You fulfill your purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not like Christians and Muslims who runs after people and try to beg them or force them, like Muhammad did with his sword, and like the Christian missionaries doing all over the world, trying to get people to join their religion. We are the exact opposite. Stay who you are. You don't have to be a Jew. Better you stay a righteous Gentile. It's easier. You have a guarantee that if you be a righteous Gentile, you go to heaven. You don't have to be a Jew to go to heaven. You ask a Christian, can I stay a religious Jew and go to heaven even though I don't accept JC as my Messiah or the Son of God, or I don't accept the New Testament? The answer would be no, son. If you don't accept JC, you go to hell. JC won't save you. You have to accept him. He's going to save the world. He will redeem us. Okay. You ask the Muslim, can I be a righteous Jew, follow all the laws of the Torah, and, love God, respect him, observe all my laws as a Jew, and won't accept Muhammad as my prophet? Can I be a righteous person and go to heaven? No, absolutely. You wicked, you kufar, meaning infidel. If you don't accept Muhammad and it's servant of Allah, you are a criminal. So therefore, according to Christians and Muslims, we have no chance to go to heaven because we don't join the group. By us, it's the exact opposite. You don't have to join me. I'm not convincing you to change your religion. Just stay a righteous Gentile. According to my book, which is the real book of God, you don't have to do that much. Just be decent, be honest, don't be a murderer, don't be a thief, don't be an idol worshiper, eat animals only once they died first, obey the law of the land, and that's it. And you're a righteous Gentile. Now, let's talk a little bit about Islam. You asked me about some human errors in the Quran. In the Quran, which obviously they copy from the Torah, all the names, Ibrahim and Yusuf and Dawood. Dawood means David, and Yusuf means Yosef. Okay, so we know the point. And their father is Ishmael. It comes from our Torah. The angel that, according to their belief, gave the Quran to Muhammad, his name was Jibril, which means Gabriel. You understand? Gabriel. Okay, so it all comes from Judaism. They don't eat pork, we don't, because we don't eat pork. They don't charge interest from each other because they saw it in the Torah. Their women dress modest because they saw it in the Torah. They pray 5 times a day because they saw us praying on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year, 5 times. So everything they do, they copy from us. Then they add a lot of their nonsense later on. But in the beginning, as you can see, they actually try to imitate the Torah. Now, when you open the Quran, you have a lot of human errors. One of them, for instance, it describes a story of Pharaoh that is calling Haman, two wicked people that they took their names from Judaism, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, Haman, which lived in Persia, and Pharaoh is calling Haman and say, Haman, I want you to build to me a huge tower, very tall, that I can go up all the way to the sky and tell the God of the Jews and fight him and all kinds of things. Very interesting story. Where did they get the idea of a big tower? It's from the Torah, the Babylonian tower. It's described in the Torah in Parashat Noach, in the book of Genesis. And where did they get the name of Pharaoh? Also from the Torah, in the book of Exodus. Okay? And where did they get Haman? From Megillat Esther. It's a part of the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible. So they didn't know that Haman was born 900 years after the last Pharaoh died. There were a few pharaohs, first, the second. The last Pharaoh that described in the Torah that the Jews came out of Egypt, he was 900 years before Haman was born. Haman was in Persia, Pharaoh was in Egypt, completely two different places. And they took something from Judaism without knowing the backgrounds and the details and the dates, and made up a story. And the story obviously is human error, because Haman and Pharaoh could never meet. Maybe they met later in hell, but they definitely did not meet in this world. So here is an example of one mistake. Let me give you another mistake. According to the Quran, they also admire JC. They accept the Christianity, okay, as the word of God, and they claim that JC is also the messenger of God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now, if you watch my debate with a Christian professor, I leave no doubt whatsoever that the New Testament can never be the book of God. By Muslims saying that Christianity is also the book of God proves that they are also fake. Because if you prove that Christianity is not divine and it has a lot of human errors, and then there's another book that claims to be divine and praise the New Testament, that means it's also not the word of God, because God does not praise fake book who comes to pretend that it's the book of God.
Mm-hmm.
However, listen to this. In the Quran, guess who is the uncle of JC? JC, I want to remind you, lived 2,000 years ago. He was a Jew. He died as a Jew. He never started Christianity. Christianity started between 70 and 300 years after his death. He had no intention to start a new religion. He had a group of people that he collected from the street. He was the rabbi, was teaching them. For instance, in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17 to 19, there is a quote from JC to his students, to all those who follow him. And he said, do not think I came to contradict the Torah. I did not try to contradict the Torah. Anyone who will contradict the Torah and will change one of the commandments of the Torah, even the smallest one, will be cursed by the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, I'm only explaining and fulfilling the Torah. No one is allowed to contradict the laws of the Torah. You have to respect the rabbis, because they are sitting on the chair of Moses, and they are in charge of teaching the Torah. So based on that, all Christians in the world must keep all the commandments of the Torah from day one until today, because their hero, their Messiah, their Son of God, or whatever you want to call it, commanded them that no one is allowed to contradict one of the commandments of God in the Torah. And as you know, Christians do not keep any of the commandments of the Torah. They eat pork, they don't observe the Sabbath, they don't put tefillin, nothing that we do, they do, right? So therefore, even according to the New Testament, you have to be a fully righteous Jew and keep all the commandments if you want to fulfill the words of your spiritual leader.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in a Quran, he's speaking about JC and his mother, Miriam, in Arabic, Maryam. And guess what? Who, according to the Torah, is the uncle of JC?
I know that
You
specific
ready?
one. It's Aaron, but it's not actually.
They actually made Moses and Aaron the uncles of JC, even though they lived 1,300 years before JC was born. They got confused between two women that appear in Judaism as Miriam. Miriam, she was the prophet. She was the sister of Moses and Aaron. She lived 3,400 years ago. And they took Miriam, the mother of JC, who lived 2,000 years ago, Mary. So they took Mary and they took Miriam of the Torah and turned her into one person. As results of that, it's written in the Quran that Mariam, the daughter of Amram, which makes it very interesting, it leaves no doubt that they spoke about that Miriam, because they also write the daughter of Amram. And Amram was the father of Moses and Aaron and Miriam, right? So they actually got such a confused situation here that they took two women who have nothing to do with each other. One lived 1,400 years almost before the other, and they brought her in their story as one person. As results of that, Miriam, the mother of JC, she came pregnant, and everybody in our town asked her, what a shame you brought to us. How could you become pregnant if you have no husband around? And she said, no, don't kill my baby. This baby is going to be something special and this. And they said, Mariam, daughter of Amram. And you see that something like this can definitely not come from God. Because even a little Jewish kid in yeshiva, 6 years old, will not make such ridiculous mistakes. And they have more and more and more mistakes. I want you to know, since I had that debate with Sniko, the Muslims in the world send me emails and list of errors in the Quran. At one point, I stopped reading. After reading dozens of them, I say, you know what? Why would I even waste time on it? If you are interested, I'll send you the list.
Please.
And you won't believe. According to their own religion, such contradiction from one chapter to another. By the way, you should know, when you go in the world, everywhere in the world you go to Poland, Russia, Ukraine, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, United States, Europe, everywhere. You ask for the Torah, you have the same Torah.
Right.
304,805 letters, same stories, same genealogy, same everything. And the Torah was kept in the original form 3,300 years. You go to the New Testament and you go all over the world and ask how many different texts the New Testament had. The answer is more than 200,000 texts.
Wow.
How did it happen? Remember, it's almost 2,000 years old. We have printing only 500 years. For 1,500 years, people copied that manually with the feather. They dip it in the ink and they wrote the New Testament on a scroll, just like the Jews do until this moment with the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you copy a book that has tens of thousands of words and hundreds of thousands of letters, obviously every human being will make some mistakes. Will skip a word, will skip a letter, will change the order by mistake, will skip a line. Therefore, if I give you the original text and you copy it from 100,000 letters, you only made one mistake. Let's say you are a super genius and super careful. From 100,000 letters, you made one mistake. That's it. Everything else is original. Your brother copied also a copy, and he made also only one mistake. How many versions we already have? 3.
Mm-hmm.
You have the original one, which is mine. According to you, there is one difference in one letter somewhere in one of the chapters. And according to the version of your brother, there is one mistake in a different chapter.
Right.
Now, the son of your brother is copying it with one mistake. Your son copy it, one mistake. Everyone will go on a minimum, one mistake only. Multiply by 1,500 years, you have 200,000 different texts. If the New Testament would be the Word of God, you would have to ask, where is the original copy? Mm-hmm. Nobody knows. So the original divine text of God is gone from the world. And as you know, in Judaism, if one letter is missing from the Torah is not holy. You can dump it in a suitcase and send it with shipping. If the Torah falls on the floor, all of us has to cry and to fast, and it's a very bad sign. The holy book of God fell on the floor, the entire community cries and fasts. It's a tragedy. But if one letter was missing there and it fell on the floor, nothing happened. Why? Just a piece of paper fell. Why? Because a divine book cannot be altered even by one letter.
Mhm.
Once you take one letter out of the text, it's no longer divine.
The Muslims
So
claim claim that their book is also not corrupted. There's only one version of the Quran. What would you say about this?
there's hundreds of different versions of the Quran. You can Google it. Hundreds of different versions. Not only that, right after Muhammad died, Islam was divided to Sunnis and Shiites. They accept Ali, they don't accept Ali, and they have many, many differences. Different ideology, different beliefs, different way of keeping the Muslim laws, completely different. And in the text itself, there are many, many different mistakes. For instance, Muhammad had every one of his wives already had the Quran in a different version in his lifetime. And not only that, it's very interesting because Muhammad himself, according to their book, did not know how to read and he did not know how to write. He was completely ignorant. Why would God come after the last Jewish prophet Malachi, which was almost 2,200 years ago, and will wait 900 years with no prophecies in the world? Before that, there were prophets every few years. All the prophets that you see in the Tanakh, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Joel, Amos, is one after the other in a chronological order. Some of the prophets live in the same time. For instance, Nathan and Samuel is in the time of King David, 3,000 years ago. They live in the same generation. In the Knesset Agdolah, in the Knesset of Israel, 2,000 years ago, you had 3 prophets sitting with 120 rabbis that were sitting in a Knesset of the Jews. So you see that there are prophets back to back. All of a sudden, the second temple is destroyed, and God said to the Jews, after the destruction of the second temple, there will be no more prophecy. From now on, I will send messages through little kids and through people that are brain damaged. You understand? Shotim with that. I don't want to say the word retarded because people tell me it's offensive, but you know what I mean. So for 900 years, there's no prophet. There's so many holy Jewish people in the world, so many knowledgeable, righteous rabbis. None of them deserve to be a prophet. All of a sudden, God take a person from the nation of Ishmael, which the Torah say was Pere Adam. The Torah said that the children of Ishmael, he himself and all his children, are wild beasts. Why would God come and change his mind after 900 years that he said there's no more prophecy ever, and will take a non-Jew, complete ignorant, doesn't know how to read, doesn't know how to write, and all of a sudden will make him a prophet? It doesn't make any sense.
And also,
And when you
has
open
not
the Quran,
prophesied
you
a
see all the
single thing.
mistakes.
Prophet Muhammad, as they call him, has not prophesied a single thing in his lifetime.
Absolutely.
Which is another
I say
bizarre.
that in my Torah and Science field, there is not one prophecy in the Quran. You see, they copy some prophecies from our books. That doesn't count as their prophecy. You see, if you're the prophet and you wrote in a book a prophecy and I copy it to my book, I'm not the prophet, you are the one. Right? So if they copy from Isaiah and Jeremiah and all these things, okay, that was already written before. But let's see one prophecy that they gave in the Quran, what will happen in 1,000 or 2,000 years later. Absolutely nothing.
Not only that,
So
also
how can
the
you call someone
Meccan
a prophet when he never gave one prophecy?
the Meccan tribe in the Quran itself also calls Muhammad. He tells them that what he does is asatir al-awalin, which means he took the scriptures of the old people, of the Jews, and pretty much copied it. In the Quran, it's mentioned, I think, 11 or 12 times. Dr. Mordechai Kedar said that. But I want to talk about something. We're talking about the Christians, we're talking about the Muslims. I want to know, what makes the Torah divine from Hashem? What's so special about the Torah? How can we prove that it's not man-made?
Okay, so there's hundreds of ways to prove the Torah is divine. That's why I made my film Torah and Science, and I have another film, The Purpose of Life, and I have another film, The Life After Death, and I had that famous debate with a Christian professor. So if you follow that, you're going to get hundreds of proofs. But let me give you just, briefly some ideas to know. First of all, the Torah is full of prophecies. dozens of prophecies, but not just prophecies that are against all odds, that there's nobody could predict it. For instance, the Torah say, I will throw you out of the land if you don't follow my commandments. I will send a nation that their symbol is eagle, that will come from far away, that you will not know their language. And he will come all the way to Israel and will destroy my house, which is the temple of Jerusalem, and will send you to exile. And at that time, he will send you as slaves to Egypt on boats. And nobody there will be interested to buy you. There will be so many slaves. The price of a slave will drop to 1 meal of a horse, which is few dollars. That's all written in the Torah, and it happened to us with the Romans. You see, the Torah didn't say that your Arab neighbors will come and kill you and capture you and sell you to be slaves. A nation that their symbol is eagle, you know, the Roman Empire, it's eagle. The Russians are eagle. United States are eagle. The Germans are eagle. And all of them comes from Esav. That's the symbol of Esav. So what do you see over here? That the Torah gave a huge risk, because if it would be a nation that we do recognize their language because they are neighbors and not someone from far away, and they would throw us to exile, so, okay, well, some of the prophecy is accurate, but there's some mistakes, but it came exactly as it is. But that's only one out of hundreds of prophecies. That's one way. Another way is inside the Torah, you have hidden codes, hidden mathematical skips. Mm-hmm. For instance, I'll give you an example. There was a very famous rabbi, lived 850 years ago, Maimonides, the whole world knows him. There is a statue of him in Washington as one of the 18 greatest people ever lived. He was the doctor of the Sultan, the Muslim Sultan in Egypt. And it's famous, the Rambam, we call him Rambam. What was his name? Rabbi Moshe, son of Maimon. That's his father, Maimon. And that gives us abbreviation, Resh, Mem, Bet, Mem, Rambam. Mm-hmm. We go to Parashat Bo in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, that describes that Moses come to Pharaoh and with the plagues and all of that. There is information about Maimonides, the Rambam. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and God said to Moshe, Moshe is Moses, and right over there we have the name Moshe, we have Lev Pharaoh, the heart of the king of Egypt. It's also hinted there. The word Mitzrayim, Egypt, is in the same page, and there are 4 words that the only time in the Torah you have 4 words that give us the abbreviation of Rambam, Resh, Mem, Bet, Mem. It's right here in this chapter. Rebot, Moftai, Be'eretz Mitzrayim. Rebot, Resh, Moftai, Mem, Be'eretz Bet, Mitzrayim, Mem, Rambam. Now, the Rambam wrote a very famous book. It's called Mishneh Torah. And over there is discussing 613 commandments. That's the book of the Rambam. Everybody knows it. It's in every yeshiva, in almost every religious Jewish home, you have Rambam. So now, the name of his book is Mishneh Torah. So listen carefully. If you go to my film, Torah and Science, you can see the slide on the screen. If you circle the letter Mem and you count 49 letters, you get Shin. You circle the Shin, you count 49 letters, you get Nun. You circle the Nun, you count 49 letters after, you get an A, you circle the A. You go to the bottom of the page, you see a Taf, you circle the Taf, you count 49 letters, you get Vav. You count 49 letters, you get Resh, you count 49 letters, you get Hey. So the word Mishneh Torah, which is the name of the book that the Rambam wrote, appears in equal mathematical skip of 49. However, there's something very interesting. Usually when you find a code in a Torah with the help of the computer, even though it's 2 words, it's all in the same skip. For instance, we put Yitzhak Rabin, the Prime Minister of Israel. Yitzhak, 4 letters, Rabin, 4 letters, altogether it's 8 letters. All of them appear in a Torah in the same skip, even though it's 2 words.
Wow.
Here, the first word is skip of 49, the second word is skip of 49, but between the first word and the second word, we have a large space. If you count the space, 613 letters. Conclusion. 2,400 years before the Rambam was born, the Torah told us there will be a rabbi named Moshe. His nickname will be Rambam. He will be glorified all over the world. He will be a doctor of the king of Egypt. He will write a book called Mishneh Torah that will speak about the 613 commandments. Inside the Torah, you have in Parashat Vayelech information about the Holocaust. Remember, the Torah was given 3,250 years before the Holocaust started, 3,300 years before. It's written that God said to Moses, one day after you pass from the world, the nation of Israel will betray me. They will follow other gods and other religions, and they will, they will do very many things to get me angry. I want you to know that at that time, I will hide myself, cover my face, and I will not look at them. I will not help them. I would leave them in the hand of the cruel Gentiles that will have no mercy on them, and they will do a disaster to them. I will not be there to defend them. Right there, as it describes the Holocaust that will happen to the Jewish nation one day, you put the word HaShoah, which in Hebrew means the Holocaust. HaShoah, it's Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, Hey, 5 letters, right? Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, Hey. You ask the computer, find me the word, the Holocaust, in the whole Torah. The computer search, we want it in equal mathematical skip. It found it just exactly in a chapter that talks about Torah, about Holocaust. Right there, the word HaShoah is hidden in equal mathematical skip of 49 letters.
Wow.
I give you another example. The Torah warned the Jews not to follow fake religions, the religion of the wood and the religion of the stone. Right away, if you know a little bit about the world, the religion of the wood is Christianity, like they say, knock on wood, the cross wood of JC, and the religion of the rock is the Islam. They go to Mecca around that big rock. You may come and say, Rabbi, don't be a manipulator. The God meant don't follow fake religions that worship idols that made from wood or idols that made from stone. How do you know that he's referring to Islam and Christianity? Right? Good question, no? But if you watch my lectures, you know I don't speak unless I have 100% solid proofs that nobody can question. I have many, many proofs that can be questioned. I don't use. I only use proofs that no one ever in 31 years that I do it could ever question. Nobody. Why? Because it's solid. Just like 2 plus 2 is 4 in math, nobody can argue about it. That's it. So I'll give you an example. You put in a computer the word Mecca. Mecca is the holiest city to the Muslims in the world, right? Mem, Kaf, Hey. Computer search Mecca, where Mecca is appear in the Torah in equal mathematical skip, in the verse that warned the Jews not to follow the religion of the rock and the religion of the wood, Mem, Chaf, A, in equal mathematical skip of 49 letters. You can see it in my Torah and Science on the screen. You put Yeshu, which is Jesus in Hebrew, Yud, Shin, Vav. You put Yeshu, the computer search for Yeshu to find it in equal mathematical skip. Guess what? In the entire Torah, which has almost 305,000 letters, where those 3 letters appeared in equal mathematical skip in the same verse that warned the Jews not to follow the religion of the wood and the religion of the rock. It leaves no doubt whatsoever that God warned the Jews not to fall to the hands of the Christian missionaries and the Muslim missionaries, and to be very careful not to replace the real diamond with a cubic zirconia. So this is another example. Now,
what are the chances of something like this happening? What are the chances of finding perfect mathematical skips inside a page or 2 pages? Or what are the chances?
Statistically not possible. Because remember, one code, I once saw a statistic expert say that it's 1 to 680 million. Second code in the same page, make it 1 to a few billion. Third word in the same page that relates to the same content, it's already infinite. There's no way to do it. Now in the Torah, you have thousands of codes. I give you one example. Yitzhak Rabin was murdered by someone named Yigal Amir. Both of them, the computer find them in the Torah in the same page, but it's unbelievable. They have a mutual resh. Rabin start with resh, Amir finish with resh. The resh of Yitzhak Rabin, the resh of Rabin is the resh of Amir. They cross together. There's only one resh for both of them, to show you that there is connection between those two individuals.
Wow.
So you understand? I can give you one proof after the other, like I said, until next week. I give you some other examples about the Torah. The Torah comes to the Jewish people that receive the book, and they open the book and they begin to see 100 miracles that happened to them in Egypt until this moment that they're standing in Mount Sinai. One of the things, as I told you before, all of you heard me speaking to God. Moses is referring to them. You saw all the miracles. You saw I took you out of Egypt. You see the manna was falling every day and you eat it. You see all the miracles. You saw what I did to Egypt, how I destroyed them, and all of that. If one of these details was not accurate, people will raise their hands and say, excuse me, Moses, I mean, love you, you are there, but come on, don't be a liar. You're saying over here that we heard you speaking to God. Anybody here heard Moses speaking to God and we heard it? Do you think he will be such a fool to come to 3 million people and tell them all of you heard me speaking to God and God gave me this book, and they open the book and they see all kinds of nonsense and make up stories? One person will agree to change his lifestyle based on a fairy tale. Why would Moses take such a risk? Why will he promise certain things that will never happen in the future? Let me give you an example. You know, the Jews, they're only allowed to eat seafood if it's kosher. What makes seafood kosher? It needs two conditions. It needs to have fins and scales, right? So if you take salmon fish, you scrape it, the scales are falling off. That's one proof. Then you have to see the fins. For instance, the fish would end with the tail. It doesn't have fins. So it needs to be any kind of creature from the oceans, from the river. You pick it up, you never saw it in your life, you're holding it in your hand. You say, what's this? I never saw it. But let me see if it's kosher. If you scrape it and scales are falling off, you have one condition. What's the second condition? Fins. You need to see fins. You saw fins, you can eat it. You don't have to know the fish, or if it's something else. For instance, if you see a snake in the ocean, it doesn't have fins and scales. It ends with a tail. I'm not talking about scales that are integral part of the skin. Like sometimes the skin of the snake look like it has scales, but it doesn't. It's a part of the skin. I'm talking scales that falls off. That's what the Torah says. You clean the scales before you eat the fish. Now, the Torah comes, now we have oral Torah. Remember, Judaism is 1% the written book, 99% oral. God gave us 613 commandments in the Torah, 365 restrictions, 248 positive commandments, which is exactly how the human body is built. 248 organs, 365 ligaments. So, if, for instance, the hand, right? The hand is 14 organs, because this finger is 2. This one is 3, 3, 3. Together, Yud Daled, Yad. Yad in numeric value is 14. Why the hand, the word hand, palms, is Yud Daled? To show you that it's no random. The names in Judaism are all divine. To show you that it has 14 organs. 14 and 14 together is 28. 28 numeric value, koach. When you shake hands with someone, it's a covenant. 2 together, United States and America, are much more powerful together than each one separately, right? So this is what it is. So now 248 organs, 365 ligaments. For each organ in a human body, you have a positive commandment. For each ligament, you have a restriction in the Torah, which is very interesting how God made the person in this image, and each part of his body relates to one of the laws of the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the oral Torah, you have 613 titles in the Torah, names of commandments, but not even one instruction how to follow it. For instance, the Torah says, do not desecrate the Sabbath. There are 39 restrictions on the Sabbath. They are not written in the Torah with details. You have a whole oral law of Masechet Shabbat, millions of words just about the Sabbath. It says that you have to cut the foreskin of every male born in the 8th day, but it doesn't say where the foreskin is. And nobody knows where it is. It could be this, it could be the nail, it can be the hair, it could be the beard, it could be any part of the body that you can cut, and the baby will still be alive. So without the oral Torah, you wouldn't know where to cut. You wouldn't know how to cut. You wouldn't know what instrument to cut. You wouldn't know if a man is allowed, if a woman is allowed, if both of them are allowed, is a Gentile allowed to circumcise the baby? What happens if the baby is sick, meaning his brother died already from losing blood, and the second brother died? Are you allowed to circumcise the third baby? After there's so many laws. What happens if it's on the Sabbath? You're not allowed to make someone bleed on the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. Unless if he's a life risk. But what would we do if the baby was born on a Sabbath? That means you have to circumcise him on the next Sabbath. Are you allowed to circumcise on the Sabbath? Remember, so we need to know all these things. Where is it in the written Torah? It's not written there. But in the written Torah, God said to Moses, these are the Torahs that I put in your hand in Mount Sinai. Plural, not Torah, Torahs. And the boards, meaning the 10 commandments, and all the laws. Okay, now, also it's written in Parashat Truma and Parashat Tetzaveh, do as I showed you in the mountain. What did he show him? It's not written in the text. Mm-hmm. Only God Moses knew, and he started to teach the nation. So why did God not write all the laws in one book? There are two answers to this. The size of this book will be all the way from United States to Israel. Nobody will be able to move it, because if you know the whole Talmud, nobody can pick it up. It's so heavy. Mm-hmm. And all the Midrashim and all the oral Torah together with the written Torah, you will have to write it manually on a scroll. Today, it's very hard for us to lift the Torah. It's very heavy. It will be 1,000 times heavier. You would need 50 people to move it. It's not realistic. Second reason is because he didn't want the nations to have all the secrets of Judaism and the Torah. Mm-hmm. Remember, if the Gentiles of that generation, that all of them witnessed the Jews coming out of Egypt and receiving the Torah from God, and God shook the whole world, and everyone was shocked that the Jews are the chosen people, and God spoke to them in a public event, as it's written in the book of Joshua, that Rachav said to the spies, all of us are afraid of you. We know you're coming to the land. We heard what your God did to you, to the Egyptians. Mm-hmm. They already knew, even though there was no CNN and no social media. Everybody in the world knew what God did for the Jews. So when God gave us the Torah, he made sure not to write any instruction to any of the law how to do it. How to write Sefer Torah, there are thousands of laws. If you make one of them incorrect, the Torah is not kosher. How to write mezuzah, you have hundreds of laws. If you make one mistake, it's not kosher. How to make tefillin, how to slaughter the animals, how to get rid of the blood, how to, circumcise a baby, how to prepare matzah for Passover, how to build a sukkah, what fruits you have to take to shake it on. So many laws. None of them appear in the Torah. Only the name of the commandments appear. No instructions.
I have a pushback. How can we know, after so many years of oral Torah, how can we, because we all play the game of telephone, and I say one word, my wife hears a different word, she sends it. How can we ensure?
Wait with that question 2 minutes. Let me finish this. Please. And then remember to remind me. All right, so God made sure that none of the instructions will be written in the Torah, because The Gentiles were so impressed. Remember, there was no religion. There was no Buddhism. There's no Christianity, no Islam. There were many different idol worshippers in the world, and that's it. And now all of a sudden they hear there is a God. He spoke to the Jews. He took them out of Egypt, and he gave them his Torah. And it was translated to 70 languages right away. Now, if all the Gentiles will have all the laws, you would not know after 2 or 3 generations who's a Jew and who's not a Jew. Everyone had a beard. They would all circumcise their babies. They would know how to write the Torah, how to write mezuzah, how to circumcise their kids, how to prepare matzah. They would come and mix with the Jewish nation, get married to the Jewish nation. We would not know that they're not Jewish. And after maximum 3 generations, there would be no Jews in the world that can actually prove that they are Jewish. The whole world would be messed up because everybody would look the same and everyone is following the Torah and they have all the laws. You would not be able to tell. That's why God made sure that it only go from father to son, from rabbi to student. It was forbidden to be written, the oral Torah. It was not allowed to write it. You're only allowed to write parts of it, not the whole thing. Why? Because if it falls to the wrong hand, you can mess up the whole world. That's why all the laws come from the oral Torah. As it's written there, the Torah is okay. Now, let me give you an example on a fish and scale, and then I'll answer your question. God said to the Jews in the oral Torah, in the written Torah, everything that have fins and scales, את זה תאכלו מכל אשר במים, כל אשר לא סנפיר וקשקשת, תאכלו. It's in Parashat Shmini in the Torah. So what does it mean? It means everything that you want to eat from the water, 72% of the world is water. All the rivers, all the oceans, 72%, almost 3/4. How deep? 12 kilometers, around 8 miles, we reach. It's much deeper, but the pressure is tremendous. Mm-hmm. But it's very, very deep, and there are billions and trillions of things moving in the rivers and in the ocean, and they constantly multiply, and they merge with each other, and they create new species every day. So half of the things you have today in the water did not even exist when the Torah was given to the Jews. But the formula remained forever. If it has fins and scales, it's kosher. Now comes the oral Torah. Listen carefully. You ask me, how do you know the Torah is the word of God? This is the proof that is 1,000,000% solid. Listen to this. The Torah said to the Jews, everything that have scales will always have fins. I created the world. I created the water. I created all the seafood. I promise you, you will never find in the water a creature that has scales and that body didn't have fins. You have creatures that have fins without scales, like a shark, dolphin. They have fins, but they don't have scales. Smooth body, no problem. That's every fisherman knows it. But those 7 words, כל שיש לו קשקשת, יש לו סנפיר, everything that have scales will always have fins. That's only the creator of the world can write such thing. No human being can write such thing because there's no human being that can watch the world simultaneously, 72% of the world, and tell you what it has or what it doesn't have in the water.
Right.
We don't have this ability. There is no human being that can take such a commitment and promise something for the next 3,300 years in the future, when every day there are no species being made, which didn't exist in the time that he made his promise. Meaning there's no human being that can write such a thing. Why would it take such a risk? It's enough that one fisherman somewhere in the world will catch a creature, scrape it, scales will fall off, and instead of fins, he will have a tail. That will be the end of Judaism, because that's the first human error.
Right.
And if you have one human error in a book that claims to be divine, then you cannot rely on the rest of the book. It cannot be the word of God. How can I dedicate my whole life to a book that have human errors? Even one. Forget about Islam and Christianity that have thousands of mistakes. If you have one mistake, it's enough. So if God said to you, you will never find anything in the water that has scales and does not have fins. That means if you go to Chinatown and you don't have what to eat, you're looking for kosher food. You say, you know what? nothing here is kosher besides fish. Let me go to the fish market, buy myself a fish, fry it in the new pan, and I'm gonna eat. But you see only half a fish on the ice in Chinatown. You see the head and half of the body. You don't see fins. Somebody else bought the tail with the fins. You only see the head and half of the body, but half of the body have scales.
Right.
But you need two conditions. You need scales and fins. You don't need to see the actual fins, because God promised everything that have scales will always have fins. Therefore, you can count on his word. He runs the world, and it's kosher. You can eat it. That's no problem. I remember like 10, 15 years ago, someone said to me, they've been looking for that seafood that have scales with no fins for 3,300 years all over the world to try to disqualify Judaism. I remember about 10, 15 years ago, someone told me, they actually found a fish that have scales but doesn't have fins. And then when we look into it, it was something unbelievable. That fish had one big fin that goes into the stomach. When he begins to move, it comes out, just like in a boat. It comes out and maneuver his direction.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So even that is a promise from God. Now, you see, something like that leaves no doubt, and that's why I encourage all the people to watch my Torah and Science. I don't have the ability to repeat 4 hours of proofs to every person who asks me for proof. That's why I make films. I direct people to the films. After the debate I had with Nico and the other guy, Matan, many, many people started to watch those proof films, and they're shocked. You can see people, Jews and Gentiles, tell me I never believe. I once had a 3 hours conversation with the controller of New York State, Alan Avesey. He already passed. He came to my lecture in Great Neck. The name of the lecture, you can watch the debate that I had with him publicly. It was in front of 200 people in Great Neck in a nice, large house. Someone brought him from Manhattan. He's in charge of all the money of New York State, the union, the FBI, the fire department. Very, very serious big shot politician. He was in the same class with the President Kennedy that was murdered. And he brought him to my lecture as a complete atheist. And the name of the lecture is Less Than 1%. You can see it. And he's a brilliant guy because he was also a history professor. He was teaching history in university. So he wasn't just a fool. He was a smart person who knows history and Torah. Many places are equal. Like Torah speaks about history speaks about the Jews. So he knew a lot. He asked me for about 40 minutes, many questions. I answered him. By the way, that's the only time in 31 years that I speak and debate people all the time that I felt that I'm about to lose the argument. It's the first time it happened. Usually the people, whatever they talk about is complete nonsense. They make up stuff. Nothing is really serious. But this guy was so brilliant. He knew what to ask. He was asking very good questions. With God's help, I answered all his questions. In the end of the lecture, I told him, Mr. Avesey, what do you have to say? His words were, well, I still have some doubts. So I say to him, it's very nice progress. You came here 2 hours ago as a complete atheist. And after 2 hours, you have some doubts left. Let's meet one-on-one, and I'll clarify all your doubts. He said, I would love to. Let's make a date. I said, okay, here, speak to my assistant. We'll make a date. I say to myself, politicians, they tell you what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But 10 days later, his assistant called me. Mr. Avesey is asking, how come you never met yet? After he was supposed to meet one-on-one. I told him, let's meet in a restaurant in Queens. We met around 3, 4 p.m. For 3 hours, I was sitting there with 2 of my guys were sitting there. He asked me so many questions. In the end of this conversation, he got a very tall man, and this is his words. He said to me, I never believed in my life that religion can be proven scientifically. I was always convinced that it's a matter of faith. Just like Christians say, you have to believe, you have to believe. You prove to me not beyond reasonable doubt, beyond any doubt that the Torah is the book of God and there is a God. And I say to him, Mr. Avesi, what are you going to do with what you just learned today? So he told me, I think it's a little bit too late for me. He was 68 years old at that day. Say to me, I'm 68 years old. I'm married to a non-Jewish woman. I just found out my kids are not Jewish because it goes by the mother. I never kept the Torah. And then he told me something else. He told me, I want to tell you a secret. My grandfather was a Satmir Hasid in Hungary.
Wow.
And my father already went off, and I completely went off. And then about a week or two later, he called me up. He said, I want you to be proud of me in one thing. To be religious like you, I probably won't be. But one thing I want you to know, that thanks to my conversation with you, the March of the Living, people that go to Poland, to Auschwitz, to see what the Nazis did to the Jews, they've been after me to collect charity and donation for them for a long, long time. I didn't have the head for it. And I say, you know what, now when I know there is a God, and I know we are the chosen people, let me do something for the sake of God, and I will do fundraising for them. I say, oh, that's already a good start. And I think about a year or two later, he passed, and that was the end of it. But this is someone brilliant. I promise you, very brilliant person who knew so much, and he was in touch with all the prime minister of Israel and all kinds of people in high tech. He also told me some things that happened between him and Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres and all these people and the Queen Elizabeth and Warren Buffett. I also learned from him a lot. And in the end, he came with 100% conclusion. You proved to me beyond any doubt. Most of the people in the world today do not follow the word of God, not because they are evil, because they are fully ignorant. They never read the Torah once in their life. They don't listen to the correct rabbis or at all to any rabbi. They only learn about sport and politics and science and all kinds of things, but they never ever read the Torah. And if you only read the book of Deuteronomy, just that alone, which will take you 6-7 hours, you'll be shocked that how did I not know about all these things? And there's one prophecy after the other over there. And the prophecy, I give you one example. The Torah committed that the Western wall will never collapse. Now, the temple was destroyed twice, once by the Babylonian 2,600 years ago, and 2,500 years ago, and once by the Romans 2,000 years ago. Same temple, in Temple Mount. Once the one that King Solomon built was standing for 410 years, and the Babylonians destroyed it. And the second temple that was built by Ezra and Nehemiah, and with the sponsorship of Tyrus the Great, the king of Persia, he sent them from Persia into Israel with money and workers, and he sponsored the work. And they built the second temple, which was standing for 420 years, and then the Romans destroyed it. Plus, all the empires in the world always desire Jerusalem. They came to occupy Jerusalem. They tortured the Jews. They were collecting taxes. They were making them slaves. There was a massive earthquake in Jerusalem, and the Western Wall is standing for 3,000 years. This temple, this Western Wall, this destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago, the Torah promise, based on the Shir HaShirim, it comes from the last book in 24 books of Judaism. King Solomon wrote it. He said, הנה זה עומד אחר כותלנו מציץ מן החלונות וכולי. הנה זה, here is our walls, is looking at us. And the Midrash, the oral Torah says, שנשבע לו הקדוש ברוך הוא שאינו חרב לעולם. God sworn to the Western Wall that he will never collapse. Now I want to remind you, the Babylonians did not want to leave anything from the temple. They knocked down the other 3 walls. Somehow they left the Western Wall standing. The Romans came. There was a leader named Fanger. He was in charge of destroying the temple. He destroyed the other 3 walls and decided, you know what, let me leave this wall that everyone will know what used to be here and what we destroyed. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he paid with his life. They executed him for not finishing the job. And the Ottoman Empire, the Armenians, the Christians, the Seljukim, the Roman, the British, everyone occupied Jerusalem. They took over. None of them destroyed the Western Wall. When the Muslim came to build their temple right where the Jewish temple was, obviously they came there because they read in the Torah that that's the gate to heaven, so they want to build a mosque there. It was very complicated because the mountain was very high, and the old Muslims cannot climb so high every day that when I want to go pray there. So the Muslim had two options: to shave the mountain, make it lower, and then it won't be that high, or to raise the entire Jerusalem. What makes more sense? To take 400 by 400, take 1,000 Arab workers to get some sand out and bring the mountain down and then build the mosque, or to raise the entire area around by another 100 feet.
Yeah.
What makes more sense? Every fool will tell you to shave the mountain, it's much, much less work. But somehow the Arabs decided to raise Jerusalem, but not to lower the mountain. You know why? If you go under the Western Wall, if you go on a tour, they show you the arches that they built, and they made another floor, and they made on top of it arches, and they built another floor, and only on top they built the houses. Why? They wanted the houses to be not that much lower than the mosque, that the old people can go up. The real reason is because God promised to his children, even though I destroyed my house because you committed sins and I threw you out to exile, I swore to the Western Wall that it will never fall down. Nothing is holding the bricks. There's no cement. There's one brick on top of the other. That's it. All you have to do is to come with a tractor in the top, push the top brick, and falls on the people. And remember, there was an earthquake that destroyed the entire Jerusalem, but the Western Wall did not move.
Wow.
So the Muslims, not knowing why, God confused them and made them walk 100 times more, because if they would shave the mountain, the size of the mountain is the Western Wall. The wall would be knocked down. But God already promised that the wall can never go down. Do you know one human being that can take such a risk and make such a promise? If the world would collapse, it would be the first mistake in Judaism. Like I say, I have thousands of examples, one to the other, which you don't have in any other religion. No prophecies, no hidden codes, no knowledge about nature that is fully divine. You don't have it. Not in Islam, not in Christianity, not in Buddhism, not in Hinduism, none of it. And I repeat, we are not here to convert Gentiles to Judaism. We are not missionaries. I want everyone to understand that. If you want to just fulfill your obligation in life, you have to be a righteous Gentile, believe in one God, follow his 7 laws, be a decent person, do not be a racist. We're not allowed to be racist. It's a crime to be a racist. To hate someone because of his color of his skin, it's like saying to God, I love some of your work, but I hate the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Or to hate someone because he was born in that country or in the other country, that's the same thing. To hate ugly people is telling God, I don't like your creation. To hate anyone that was created by the artist, which is the creator of the world, to hate him because of the way he was made or where he was born or how does he look or what color is his skin, that's a crime. However, the Torah say, be attached to righteous people, admire righteous people. You can be jealous with righteous people, that you can go up to their level. Stay away from the wicked people. Don't connect with the wicked people. Don't marry the wicked people. Do not fall into the things. Don't even have conversations with them, regardless if they are Jewish or not. They are wicked Jews and they are wicked Gentiles. They are righteous Jews and they are righteous Gentiles. We judge people only by their actions, not by their look, not by their accent, not by their nationality. And that's something we have to make clear to everyone who listens to us. We are not racist. We're not allowed to be racist. We are not missionaries. We are not after anyone. Come join us. We need more people. No, the exact opposite. stay who you are, just make some adjustment, follow the one God, the God of the Torah, you go to heaven, and that's it. What could be better than that?
Do I have time for one more question?
Please go ahead.
So I want you to give me the absolute best argument you have that scientists couldn't answer, atheists couldn't answer about why this world was created by God and not by. I mean, evolution is one thing, but what would be your best evidence that this is the case?
That's the common sense. If I take a quarter and throw it in the ocean, somewhere in the ocean, and I will say to you, Sahar, you know what? I want you to go on a boat on the ocean. I'm going to give you $1 billion. Here is the money. You have to take a quarter, throw your quarter anywhere you choose in the ocean. If your quarter falls on my quarter in the bottom of the ocean, you'll get $1 billion. I repeat, today I go on the ocean in the middle of nowhere, I throw a quarter. The next day I come to you, you want to make $1 billion? Please go on the same ocean, throw your coin, and if your coin fall on my coin, you're going to get $1 billion. Would you bother to go on the ocean and throw your quarter?
Not gonna work. Never.
You know any person that will be that stupid to waste his time and money and go and throw it?
Nope.
Because the chance that your quarter will fall on mine basically doesn't exist. Now listen carefully. The world has trillions of galaxies. That's one of the things that is written in the Torah, in the Talmud, in the oral Torah, in Masechet Brachot, chapter of Brachot, page 32. God is telling the Jews how he created the world. And if you do the calculation, 12 sections I created in heaven. In each section I created 30 legion, in each legion 30 armies, and each army 30 raton, each raton 30 karaton, and each karaton 30 gistera. And in each gistera I hung 365,000 stars multiplied by 10,000 stars, which is ribo. And all of that I created for you, the nation of Israel, and you have the nerve to tell me that I forgot you and neglected you? Now, when you do the math, 12 times 30 times 30 times 30 times 30 times 30 times 365,000 times 10,000, it gives you a number of 19 digits. That's the exact number of the stars in the universe. This was written when the whole world swore there's maximum 6,000 stars. There's no telescope, no satellite, no spaceship, no nothing. No mega computer that can count such numbers. And that's what God saying to Abraham, I will multiply your children like the sky, like the stars in the sky, stars in the universe. And then when you read it in the Torah 3,000 years ago, you say, what do you mean? What, the whole nation of Abraham will only be 6,000 people? That's the number of stars. But it's written in the oral Torah that it's going to be trillions. Trillions. Now listen carefully. All these galaxies are moving. And within the galaxies, there are billions of stars who move. Some of them are at least 1,000 times bigger than Earth. They're all in circle movements. Very interesting. All of them move in circles. They never collide with each other. They never collide with each other. The Earth is surrounded by the moon while the Earth is circling the sun, while the Earth is rotating every 24 hours, it finishes a whole circle. And at the same time, the moon goes around the Earth, and both of them together goes around the sun, and the sun is also in a movement, and none of them collides with each other. Now listen, if you look in the infinite universe, there are unlimited amount of options where you can place Earth, the star. That's where we live. There is a sun. Now you can put the Earth anywhere you choose. Here, 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 here. Unlimited numbers, trillions and trillions of options. But there is only one option that can give life to humanity. That they won't burn from the sun, or they won't be too far, and they won't freeze to death. And that's where the Earth is. From all the unlimited amount of options, the Earth was placed by the Creator in the right distance, exactly from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere else, it would be you either burn in a second or freeze in a second. There would be no life. And all the trees and the photosynthesis and all the leaves, everything depends on the sun. We wouldn't have what to eat without it. And that's the answer to all these fools that say that the world was made by a random explosion and there's no creator. I'm an atheist. It's baloney. You don't have one atheist in the world. I'm willing to swear on my life on it. There's not one atheist in the world. You know how many times atheists came to me and said to me, leave me alone, I'm an atheist. And when I started a conversation with them, after less than a minute, yeah, where was God in the Holocaust? Oh, you just proved you're not an atheist. You're angry about God because you don't know why there was a Holocaust. If you read the whole story, you would know why it happened. We were warned about it. But that's a side argument. But you just proved there is a God. That's why you're angry at him. To be an atheist means I don't believe in the creator, and you know that there's now one person in the world that will tell you that these glasses were made by a random explosion in some garbage bin. No one would do it, and the lens falls exactly, and the screws goes in a hole, and the handles and everything. Nobody believes in it, so therefore nobody believes that the brain was made by a bunch of explosion, and the eyes connected to the brain, and the mouth, and the oxygen, and the lung, and the liver. Enough with this nonsense. It's an insult to intelligence. Nobody believes in it. The reason they say I'm an atheist is because it means leave me alone. I don't want to observe the Sabbath. I don't want to be limited with what I eat. I want to marry whoever I want. I don't want anyone to tell me what's allowed, what's not allowed. The easiest way out is I don't accept you. Like these anarchists, they come to the United States court. I don't recognize the court as a legal institution. You have no right to judge me. In the end, he goes to jail. Nothing will help him. He can say whatever he wants. But the reality is this. So now, to conclude, after all the possibilities, the earth was placed exactly in a place that it could be. And the oral Torah is telling us, this is in a verse that came from King David 3,000 years ago, that he writes in Psalms, the book of Psalms. It says, Lashemesh sam oil bahem. Oil means cover. God made a cover to the sun. Remember, 3,000 years ago, nobody knew the sun has a shell. There was no to know. Today, with the help of NASA and the satellites and spaceship and all of that, we know that. But back then, nobody could know it. And the oral Torah say, the sun has nartik chama, has a cover, has a shell. If you watch my Torah and Science, you see that it says that in the center of the sun, the temperature there is 15 million degrees Celsius. All the way from the center of the sun to the shell, from the inside of the shell, it reduced to 2 million degrees. And when you go out of the shell, right outside of the shell, it reduced to 6,000 degrees. And from there until it arrived to Earth, it reduced to 30 degrees, 40 degrees. That's where we can live. So it was designed exactly by Hashem. And the best part is that everything that I just told you and much more, it's all written in Judaism. The age of the world that is only a few thousand years ago, I can prove to you in 10 minutes that everything they said, all this billions of years old, it's all nonsense, speculation, assumption. As a matter of fact, there's one scientist named Robert Gentry. I encourage you to watch. He made 2 films. He's a non-Jew from Texas, a scientist. He made 2 films that are brilliant. It's called The Fingerprints of the Creation and The Young Age of Earth. And he knows all the methods and all the ways that scientists in the world calculated the age of the world. Every one of them comes with a different bombastic number, 300 billion, 10 billion, 300 million. And there are some scientists say that the world is only a few thousand years old. And he take every one of their claims and smash it to pieces. I never seen such a scam, almost, besides the Palestinian scam and some of the things that are going on today in the world with their scams. As you know, there's not such thing Palestine. They made it up. The Romans called Israel 2,000 years ago Palestine, and it's named after the Philistines. They used to live in Gaza and they have nothing to do with Arabs. And the Arabs that call themselves Palestinians are Egyptian and Iraqis and Kuwaitis and Jordanian and Syrian and Lebanese. There's no such thing. That's the biggest scam in our days. and a lot of liberal, foolish Jews backing up their scam together with the anti-Semite European, and everybody wants to give it to us, the Jews, cooperating with such a scam, But besides that scam, I didn't see any bigger scam than to claim that the world is older than a few thousand years old. After you watch the films of this Robert Gentry, you will be shocked how world-class scientists selling us such garbage with so many stupid assumptions and such horrible calculation. You won't believe how one person wasted a minute of his life about this garbage. So to conclude, when we speak about the age of the world, there are two ways to do it, the short way or the long way. The long way is to show extrapolation, carbon 14, all these things that the scientists talks about. You want to see that, you can go to Robert Gentry 2 films and you'll see everything there. The short way is if one person is sitting in a class and all 30 students have to guess how old is he. And one say 10, and one say 15, one say 20, one say 40, one say 70. Obviously, they cannot be all right. At best case scenario, maybe one of them is right. When they have thousands of scientists and everyone comes with a different age to the world, one say 10 million and the other one say 300 million and another way say it's billions, and then another scientist say it's only a few thousand years old. Why will I waste my time and my intelligence on something that the greatest scientist in the world comes up with weird, strange numbers and they're very far from each other? First, when all of them will come to around the same age, right? If all of them would say 4 million years, 4.1 million, 3.9 million, oh, you know what? There's something here. They're all very close to the same number. Then we will start the argument. But if one say 10 million and the other one say billions, and they went to the same university, why an intelligent person will waste his time on it? So as you saw, we can continue and give one proof after the other. Of course, I'm not trying to offend anyone. This is a spiritual argument, philosophical argument. Everyone is entitled to bring his own proofs, to agree, to disagree. It's all with friendship. If you have anything else to conclude, please go ahead.
I wanted to say that it was very enlightening. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I think you're brilliant, and I think people should follow your stuff. And that brings me to my last question. How can people find you? How can people find your lectures, website, anything?
Okay, so of course they can go on my website, divineinformation.com, and I have another one, rabbimizrachi.org. And then they can download my app, Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi. Mizrachi, it's with CHI. Okay, so they have my app. It's free of charge. And they can go on my YouTube page, my Instagram page, my Facebook page, my TikTok page, basically everywhere. And I have LinkMe. LinkMe at Rabbi Mizrachi. They can go find me over there. I have good people that help me, that work for me, they promote things, and with the help of God, we, Baruch Hashem, are very successful, as you can see, to reach millions of people and change their life. I also have 2 books which are very recommended. One of them is called Preparation for Eternal Life, and the other one is Divine Information. And the first thing that people that wants to get proofs and wants to get the basic principles is to watch my film Torah and Science. They watched it. It's 4 hours film, one proof after the other. It's divided to 3 parts. They don't have to watch it in one day. They can watch every day one part. In 3 days, they can finish it. If they have questions, they can write me email, rabbimizrachi@gmail.com. And we'll try to help everyone we can.
Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you for accepting this interview, and I think a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation. Toda rabba, and I'll see you in the next interview, hopefully.
Keep up your wonderful work. You also do wonderful work. We have a lot of fans here around that admire you and appreciate what you do. Hashem gave you great talent. Continue, be strong, and be successful. And the most important thing, also remember, we have a lot of things in life, but the most important thing is to elevate our soul, to become closer to God, to keep more commandments, to keep Shabbat,
Amen.
to become better people, to fix our personality. You are a very good Rhode Island. Always be busy, and making it shinier and shinier until you reach the perfect level, Bezrat Hashem. I'm
בעזרת
giving you
השם.
this blessing.
תודה רבה.
Thank you so much.
תודה.
All the best. Call to.
If you'd like to watch more of my stuff, please check out my channel down below. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification button so you can be notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to support me and the channel financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links below. Also, we now have a Discord that you can join down in the link below. And now you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.